Assalamu alaikum. I am Aniba freelancing Wali from Rehan School Lahore campus. I am a student from teacher training level 1.
Wa alaikum assalam, Aniba. It's great to meet you. If there's anything specific you'd like to discuss, whether it's about your studies, the course, or something else, just let me know.
What are the two modes of thinking described in the book?
Great question. In Learning How to Learn, Barbara Oakley talks about two main modes, the focus mode and the diffuse mode. Focus mode is when you're concentrating intently on a problem or task, like when you're solving a math equation. Diffuse mode, on the other hand, is more relaxed. It's when your brain is sort of daydreaming, and that's when creative insights often pop up. Both modes are really important for effective learning.
How does focused mode differ from defocused mode?
Good follow-up. So focus mode is all about intense concentration. You're zeroed in on a specific task, trying to solve a problem or master a skill. It's like being in a laser focus state. Diffuse mode, though, is more open and relaxed. You're not concentrating on a single thing. Instead, your brain is free to make connections, wander, and come up with creative insights, often after a break from the focused work. Both are crucial, just different tools in your learning toolbox.
Why is procrastination harmful to learning?
Yeah, so procrastination is really harmful because it interrupts that momentum you need for deep learning. When you procrastinate, you delay getting into focus mode, so you don't build those strong mental connections. Plus, stress can pile up as deadlines get closer, making it even harder to learn efficiently. So, by tackling tasks early and using structured breaks, you keep your brain in a good learning flow.
What is chunk in learning?
That's a really interesting concept. In the book, a chunk is basically a small packet of information your brain groups together. Once you practice something enough, like a skill or a concept, your brain links related bits of knowledge into one chunk. So instead of processing every tiny detail separately, your brain can handle more complex ideas as a single unit, making you more efficient at learning.
How are chunks formed and strengthened?
Yeah, so chunks form through repeated practice and focused attention. When you first learn something, the individual pieces of information are separate, but as you work with them, they get connected, like puzzle pieces fitting together. Sleep also plays a big role because during sleep, your brain strengthens those chunks, consolidating them into long-term memory. So it's a mix of deliberate practice and rest that really helps solidify them.
What techniques help transfer information into long-term memory?
Yeah, so a few key techniques really stand out. First, active recall. Testing yourself on the material helps a ton because you practice retrieving, strengthens those neural pathways. Second, spaced repetition. Revisiting the material at increasing intervals really boosts retention over time. And third, elaboration. Connecting new info to what you already know helps it stick. So a mix of these techniques really locks things in long term.
Why is active recall more effective than rereading?
Good question. So active recall is more effective because it forces your brain to actively retrieve the information, which strengthens the neural connections and makes it easier to remember later. Rereading, on the other hand, just re-exposes you to the material, which can feel like learning but doesn't actually require you to pull the info out. So active recall gives you stronger, more durable memory.
What is spaced repetition and why does it work?
Yeah, so spaced repetition is when you review material at gradually increasing intervals. For example, after a day, then a few days, a week, and so forth. It works because it taps into how our memory decays. If you review just as you're about to forget something, it reinforces it right before it fades. So by spacing out reviews, you keep revisiting just before the memory weakens, which strengthens it long term.
How does sleep contribute to learning and memory?
Yeah, sleep is huge. During sleep, especially deep sleep, your brain actively consolidates memories. It strengthens the neural connections you formed while learning. It also helps integrate new knowledge with what you already know, making it easier to recall later. So a good night's sleep really is like a reboot for your memory.
What role do neural connections play in skill development?
Yeah, so neural connections are really at the heart of skill development. When you practice a skill, like a sport or a math concept, your brain forms new pathways and strengthens existing ones. The more you repeat, the more efficient those connections get. It's kind of like making a superhighway in your brain. So as those connections get stronger, you perform better, and the skill becomes almost automatic.
Why can the of competence be dangerous?
Yeah, that's a really important point. The illusion of competence happens when you think you know something well just because you've passively been exposed to it, like rereading or skimming, but you haven't actually tested yourself deeply. So you might feel confident, but in reality, you can't apply the knowledge or recall it accurately. This can give you a false sense of security, and you end up being unprepared when it really counts.
What can taking break improve problem solving?
Oh, definitely. When you take breaks, especially if you step away from the problem, your brain shifts into diffuse mode. It's like a mental breather. Ideas percolate in the background. Often after a break, you come back with a fresh perspective, and a solution pops into your head almost effortlessly. So breaks give your brain a chance to reorganize and make those creative leaps.
What are the drawbacks of cramming before an exam?
Yeah, so cramming is pretty risky because it often leads to shallow understanding. You might remember facts in the short term, but you don't really internalize them. Plus, it increases stress, which can actually impair your performance. And once the exam is over, that info fades fast, so you don't build long term mastery. Space practice, though, is much more effective for real retention.
How does the brain process difficult concepts over time?
Yeah, so the brain handles difficult concepts by building those neural connections over time. At first, when something is really hard, your brain sort of struggles. It's like a muscle. But as you revisit it in focus practice and give yourself breaks, your brain consolidates the pieces and forms a stronger grasp. So it's like slow, steady exposure and practice that lets you master even tough concepts.
Why is practice essential for mastering a subject?
Yeah, practice is essential because it's how you turn those fragile chunks of knowledge into automatic skills. Every time you practice, you refine your performance, you catch mistakes, and you deepen your understanding. And the more you repeat, the more your brain automates the process. So eventually, what once felt hard just flows, and you really master it.
How can you use Pomodoro technique in your daily studies?
Yeah, the Pomodoro technique is super practical. Basically, you break your study time into 25-minute focused intervals, those are your Pomodoros, separated by a 5-minute break. After about 4 cycles, you take a longer break, maybe 15 or 30 minutes. This keeps your focus sharp, avoids burnout, and really helps you stay on track, especially for longer study sessions.
Describe a time when diffuse thinking helped you solve a problem.
Ah, yeah. So diffuse thinking can sometimes cause problems if you rely on it too much without balancing it with focused effort. For example, if you avoid working hard on a tough concept, thinking that a break or letting your mind wander will just solve it, you might procrastinate and miss the structured practice you need. So diffuse thinking is powerful, but it needs to be paired with active focus to really keep you on track.
What strategies from the book could help you overcome procrastination?